When the quiet misty hills of Darjeeling turn into rivers of mud, the mountain that is known for drawing tourists suddenly turned into a scene of tragedy. Now, this is not the first or isolated incident. This kind of incident we have seen increasing in the past few years in the mountainous region of India. Now, how Darjeeling rain has triggered a landslide and why such landslides are deadly for India, this is what we are going to discuss in deeper in this particular video. So, first of all, to give you the background of this particular issue, as many as 14 people are expected to have been killed in the multiple landslides that was triggered in the West Bengal's famous hill district of Darjeeling and also in the neighboring district of Kalimpong. Now, it is believed that the casualty figure may further rise as more time passes because the severe weather and difficult terrain, at least for now, has made it impossible and almost difficult for the disaster relief teams to carry out rescue operations as such. Disaster also has cut off any kind of linkage and communication with the neighboring Sikkim with an iron bridge near Tista Bazaar that has collapsed, as you can see from this particular video. This iron bridge was the only link between Sikkim and West Bengal, at least in the Kalimpong region as such. To understand where or which part of India we are talking about, we can look at the map of India. If you look here in the upper part, this is Sikkim, and to the south of Sikkim is the region of West Bengal. Now, if you look here closely, to the south of Sikkim is the region which we called as Darjeeling. This is the uppermost district of West Bengal, connected and attached to the Sikkim message. And when you're talking about landslides, as we know that you talk about the Great Himalayas, Mid Himalayas, Outer Himalayas, all these Himalayas are basically passing through the Darjeeling and the Sikkim region. So this entire terrain is what we can call as Himalayan mountainous terrain. Now, the immediate consequences of this we can see is in the context of the blocked roads and isolated villages. Many times in the areas where the people have been basically affected by landslides, rescue operations also become quite difficult because there is challenge in navigation through this particular area. There is challenge or problem of connectivity, limited connectivity in this area. Communication lines also have snapped with Sikkim message, and because of heavy rain and landslides, we have seen accumulation of water that has created a flood-like condition, worsening crisis in this hilly terrain as such. Now, obviously, rescue and relief operations are ongoing, but these are also hampered by heavy rain that is lashing this particular area. Now, landslides are recurring. That is something is a trend we have seen, especially in the Himalayas, and that is due to the saturated slopes. Now, all this we will understand in more detail. But first of all, what do we mean by the term landslide itself? Now, as clear from the term itself, land plus slide. Landslide here refers to a sudden downward movement of land. Land, we know it is made up of rocks, it is made up of soil and debris that accumulates over the soil layer as such. So, due to the sudden increase in the gravitational force, we see a downward movement of rock, soil and debris. This is what we can call as landslide. Landslides generally are triggered whenever the gravitational force increases the slope stability. When you talk about a mountainous slope, for example, we know that there are a large amount of materials which are accumulated over the mountain slope, but they remain stable as long as the gravitational force is not very strong. Now, due to certain factors, if gravitational force suddenly pulls all this material in downward direction, we see a collapse of the landmass onto itself or in the downward direction, as you can see from this particular picture, and this is what we can call as landslide. The question that might come into your mind that why in normal circumstances land is not sliding, and the reason is because of the natural glue. Now, if we try to understand over the over the hilly areas, there are a large number of factors that act as a natural glue. Natural glue means they keep the soil material joined together. They ensure that they do not trickle down, they do not move in the downward direction. This can be the roots of trees which bind soil around itself. It can be cohesion within the soil itself, that means the intermolecular forces within the soil particle itself, or it can be the angle of slope. Because if slope angle is kind of gentle in nature, it will be possible for every material above it to be stationary and stable in nature. Apart from that, generally what happens is that due to heavy rainfall, this natural glue is weakened. For example, if heavy rainfall is lashing the mountainous area, soil becomes more saturated, they become more flowy in nature, and that overall reduces weight and friction, and thus it becomes easier in the steep, unprotected, rain-soaked slope for land to suddenly collapse and move suddenly in the downward direction. And this is how we can understand the landslide. Now, before understanding this entire theme in more detail, I would want to bring your attention to the fact that Legacy IAS Academy, we're going to soon commence batches. The weekday regular batches are going to commence on 16th of October, while the weekend batches is for students who are preparing for the civil service examination full time with job and studies. We are going to commence it on 4th and 25th of October. Now, in this particular batch, we ensure multiple features which will be advantageous for any civil services aspirant. These are important features such as comprehensive coverage of GS papers, one-to-one mentorship and doubt solving sessions. We have ensure regular interaction with educators, plus we have test series as well, plus daily men's answer writing practice, so that the students can be one step ahead from the competitors as far as this examination is concerned. If you want to know more detail about the programs and features, you can click the link in the description box of this particular video, or you can give a call to the number being displayed here as well. Now, coming back to this particular topic. Now, we know that landslides have increased in the recent time, and this is not only because of natural factor but also due to the human or anthropogenic involvement. As far as the human triggers are concerned, first of all, I know that heavy rainfall obviously is taking place in the mountainous areas, but what has made it more devastating is the unplanned constructions on the fragile slope. Because when you cut in the mountainous slope to construct buildings, construct restaurants, construct resorts and all, you actually reduce the stability of the slope, and also you block the proper drainage of the water as such. And thus, as soon as the drainage system is blocked, whenever you have heavy rainfall, there is no space for water to move in the downward direction. So what will do? It will keep on accumulating. But once a situation arises that no longer water can be held anymore along the upslope areas, this water suddenly start to flow at a rapid pace in the downward direction. This increases the solubility of soil. This causes the slope become very, very unstable in nature, and this causes the landslide. Plus, we know that Himalaya is one of the most fragile region as far as the geological activity is concerned, because Indian plate is continuously pushing against the Eurasian plate, and that is why you have a large number of seismic activity which also adds to the risk. Plus, heavy development of the infrastructure, especially talk about roads in the mountainous areas to provide connectivity. The cutting of roads and development of roads also have added to the risk in the recent time. Now, as far as the vulnerability of India to landslide is concerned, this we can simply understand by looking at this particular map. If you try to understand, throughout the entire India, we have two regions that we can highlight. One in the north, the entire Himalayas is stretching all the way from Jammu and Kashmir to the northeastern states, and then second is the western Ghats along the western coast of India. Now, if you look at the numbers, 13% of India's area is prone to landslides. That means total 15 out of 28 states and 4 union territories are where landslide is a very common possibility. And overall, in northeastern region, because we can say the entirety of northeastern region is nothing but hilly in nature, there is around 42% of area of northeast which is vulnerable to landslides as such, and that is why we see so many landsliding like incidents in the Sikkim, Arunachal Pradesh, Assam, Meghalaya and all these areas, and in this case to the south of Sikkim in the West Bengal, Kalimpong and Darjeeling. Now the question comes that what steps we can take to ensure that we can be well prepared against such risk of landslides. Now here the question is that rainfall is directly linked with landslides. So can we predict rainfall? The answer is yes. As far as the IMD forecast is concerned, they had predicted heavy rainfall due to the development of low pressure system around the Bihar. But the problem is that not all rainfall results in the landslide, and this as we have seen in many cases, rainfall does not necessarily guarantee that trigger of landslide. So even if you have a warning of rainfall, you cannot say that there is going to be landslides and we should make preparation like that. So it becomes very difficult to pinpoint that even if heavy rainfall is expected, where and when exactly landslides will occur, and that is why it becomes challenging to understand and to take steps against landslide. Now, obviously, in this regard, Government of India has come up with a national landslide risk management strategy in 2019. This strategy was created by collaboration by collaboration of two institutes. One was the Geological Survey of India, another was the National Disaster Management Authority. Now, in this particular strategy, they have focused on mapping of vulnerability. That means to scale and understand and draw that which part of India, which part of mountain is more vulnerable to landslide as such, so that more focus can be given there. Second, zonation of high risk areas. That means we have to identify that which areas are high risk, we should make a zone, and based on this, we can further ensure that there is a proper regulations as far as the construction in the hills are concerned. Not only that, we can also ensure that we have well developed early warning system in those areas, and then we can also bring community, the people who are living in these areas, we can make them more aware, we can also make them more prepared, because these are the people who are worst affected whenever such disaster strikes. Now, do we have any such kind of system in operation? The answer is yes. As far as the current status is concerned, such kind of pilot system already has been implemented in the states such as Kerala, which is in the Western Ghat region. I told you it is a vulnerable area. We have Sikkim, we have Uttarakhand. And this entire system is working on two data. First data is about the expectation of rainfall that is received by the India Meteorological Department, plus also the soil data, that how stable, unstable is the soil, how soluble, insoluble is the soil. This also is taken into consideration. And based on these data, then the warning system calculates that what is the probability of slope failure, because as we have discussed in the early part of the video, it is a slope failure that results in the landslide. And overall, we have to understand that though we have taken a step in the right direction, this particular pilot program still is in the trial stage. It is not widely operation. So first of all, we have to ensure that this is efficient and effective way of determining or providing warning against landslide. Second, also we have to scale it up so that the entire vulnerable areas of India can be covered under this. And at the same time, we also have to ensure that we have availability of real-time data by automated network, so that the response time in case of such disaster can further be minimized. That is all about this particular video. If you like the video, please hit the like button, share the flash friends, as well as subscribe to the channel for more such content. Thank you very much.